Revealing the first writer's formats in Genesis. This means I found the hidden formats, and now I'm telling you that they're the first writer's formats. This is part 11, where I clean up the text, I place the text that's out of order into order, and I tell you how I found the correct order for the 12 sons from Israel, Jacob. And this text that you're going to see, these groups, these don't have any proper English on them, but I capitalize all letters and colored them violet to honor and respect our Creator. Then anyone who is a good guy gets or woman, her name gets the capital letter at the beginning. All the others are bad guys or bad people. So the text is kind of formatted to where I can actually control a little bit of the text as far as who's good and bad when you're reading a verse, so you aren't confused. It helps the reader out to understand the text more than just reading it and then trying to figure out which person they're talking about is good or not. So what I want to do is start to show you what that cleaned up text looks like. And I'm going to go right here. And as you can see how clean these are, okay? And this verse here, I needed to move down. I had to find a place for it. So when I looked for it, because when you read them like this, there will be verses that'll pop out. Example, light day, the light daylight is what it should have been, the light daylight, and the darkness night. See, I haven't even edited that text yet because I did it later. But what I did was put over here symbols or numbers or letters to when you're got the PDF, you can be able to search down and up. I am locking them in. I think I'm using like a 24 letter code. So you're going to need a supercomputer to break them open. And people are probably laughing when they hear this 200 years from now, like, what's he talking about? You can crack that in 5 seconds. But anyways, here's some more text that I moved up. You would be able to search 1, 2, 3 to find out where this text came from. And a lot of times it's because when I read the text, it just, like I thought, I read parts of that before. So it has to go up there with the other part. Here's that group that I put here with the question marks, and you can see I already changed it to daylight, and I put a couple of commas trying to define the word. I thought that was, I'm working around with commas right now, trying to say that this is the definition for the darkness, night, whatever. But here's another group here. And I will be leaving a text that I've added in for right now. I will put them in the final version. It will be all one color. I believe that's what I'm going to do. That way, when I'm trusting, you're going to have to trust me. But when they go look to see what I did, this is the recorded history for those to understand where everything is and where everything came from. So it'll be one of the last things I can do of all the text. This group moved here. So I haven't seen this number pop up yet, so it's probably from down below. This text, when I tried to put in the word helper, and the female as a helper, and I explained the female is equal to a male. There's we know the differences, but we're equal. Okay. This text is already written up there, and it would be a double if I tried to move it to that text. So that's why this is coming out, and that's why this is coming out. Okay. And you can see I started to try to work that text into there. And that's the group from here up to up to way up here that I moved. Okay, so this was quite a big group that I moved. And this is the group that I moved, as well as this group. This group had to be moved up farther than this group. Let's see here. And I know I'm not speaking because I'm trying to, I really want to show you the text when it's cleaned up, because this is clean, but it's still got where these verses come from and what they look like without all the editing marks. So I'm doing it in stages. And I still had some things that in those videos I went over and I made notes, and they're going to pop up in here to say that I did edit them that way. And there's going to be more editing, but don't think this is the last editing, because I do have to put in chapters and stuff like that. And maps will be going in here as well. I have some 70 maps, maybe 80 maps that will be in the text, and they'll be around the text that talks about that area. Okay. So when it starts talking and being very descriptive, I made a map and I put it in here. Now this group I moved here because this is a 3-verse grouping, and I know when I was talking that I was going to stick a few groups in here. I guess this isn't the one that I grouped 2 or 3 together to get in here. But anyways, it's when he renames Israel's what I was thinking about. But I had to put this verse in because it was in a 4-verse grouping, and here's going to be the 4-verse grouping. So, but the object is I will be taking this verse out because it can work here in this 4-verse setting, and then I needed to add another word so it reads smoothly. And just like as if you read this right now, take a screenshot and read it, you would see that yes, this text is reading out of order. But I have moved it. Okay, this is one of those words from one of the videos that I said he departed, and it shouldn't be there. It should be ascended. And these 2 verses might get moved around. So, because then he bowed to him, and then he ascended, or did he ascend, and then he bowed. I believe I should be moving this up, but that's going to be noted later. And if you notice, we're still in a 4-verse group. So, but notice how these groups, when you see it, actually are a story. I mean, these are really detailed stories that were found within the text itself. And the only reason why I knew that these existed was there's a video on Psalm 78 where this all started from, and this type of format started from was verse 19 and 21 are out of order. So if you go look at Psalm 78, and look at those 2 verses, you're going to say, yes, the water is already gushing out, and then he struck the rock. No, he had to strike the rock. But I show you how in different steps, how I found these formats. It was just shock to me. It set me off on a lot of work, but an enjoyment to see the actual truth, because when I started doing these, I started realizing these are the first writers' formats, the text that they literally started from. or they literally wrote. So a lot of these are words and I tried to keep them in the best condition I can, and being true to their language at that time. Not meaning 6 words means 6 different things. Okay. And this is where I moved this group, was from down here. So, and this I'm going to talk about now is that I said I was going to do that in the other one of the early videos. That we don't have Abraham's servant's name. So this is where his name should be. And then this means he has to be a descendant from some person well known at Abraham's time from Shem's. And he just must have heard about Abraham, and then he come to be his trusted servant. Okay. So this is completing the format, but here forever marked that he is a servant from Shem's. And I could put the word Shem's here, but I'm not. But when you hear this, and I will go over every verse here to tell you what they actually mean and cross-reference a lot. Because sometimes these little small groups, I can talk for 20 minutes on just one small one. And don't think I can't, because many people that have asked me about something when they've read it and I go on and they just look at me like, that's what's in this verse? I says, you now understand that verse. Now read it again after I get done. And they just kind of like, wow. And like I try to tell them, it's such a condensed way of writing that you know that this text, writing on scrolls, was to save as much area as you can, so you didn't have 70,000 scrolls when they were writing. They had a lot of scrolls, but most of these were probably a story and then stuck off on a scroll and then another scroll and then another scroll. So they had probably a lot of scrolls to start with. Just like when you see a different format changing, that's a different writer writing that. Okay. In this, even the style of these writings, you'll find that the wording shows that it's another writer writing the text. And Moses didn't write all these. And I'm going to explain why Moses never wrote them. So the thing here is that you got to watch for that video. That'll be in Exodus. I should have been talking and flipping through them like this. Okay, here's another one that I was discussing. I decided to take the word noon, which is a word from our time. They would have known the high of the day. It is time for the livestock to be gathered for water. Now, I've lived in a rural area, and I know livestock are resting at the high of daylight. They are, it's usually about 1 o'clock that you see all the herd sitting on the ground together in a group, and they're resting. It's their time to rest. So should I have, it is about high noon, and they should, because they got to be done drinking for them to rest. So it's around the high of the day. So the farmers know exactly what I'm talking about. So, because their herds do that, and they should provide more shade for them. I'm down here in Florida, and it's a cooker, and I'm telling you what, I see the cattle out there, and they're standing in the water, and they're just, but if you see them have any shade, they'll be gathered there. I know they or when it's cold-blooded, the temperature changes, but you can just see them acting stranger when they're sitting on a hot sun and not in getting any shade at all. And here's another word. I changed it from feast to dinner because a feast is something that a king would have or a very, very wealthy person would have. So like I said, I'm trying to keep the words separate. Now comes the really surprise for this video is how do I know the correct order of these names? And you notice they got Simon right as second. But here you see now Benjamin being sixth. But how did I come up with that? And let me explain something to you. Out of all the corruption that takes place in the text that they've done, it's very funny that they couldn't change some things. And that one thing was how they lived on the land. So here, when they lived on the land, they could not change these locations. Okay? Now, in the Sinai, our Creator had them by birth camp in different and on different sides of his tent for meeting with him. And in the south side was the first sons. So we know that the first sons has to be Judah, Simon, and then Reuben. This group here is going to be Dan, and then it's going to be Levites, and then it's going to be Benjamin. Okay? Now, why is it Ephraim's? Because our Creator allowed them to say that they're going to become the tribes. So this means this is the firstborn son by Joseph, not the other way around. And this Manasseh is taking Joseph's place, okay? So the thing here is that these three, I don't know if it was east or west side or whatever, but here, this would have been assigned to the Levites as well, these two areas. But then what you see is 1, 2, 3, and then you see 1, 2, 3 as the other side. So that's how I've listed them. That's why I know Naphtali and then Joseph. Okay? So let me see. Did I have Joseph as the last one? Yes, Joseph is the 12th one. Okay. So that is how they couldn't they couldn't trick me and figuring out how the order of they were born. And now you have the correct order of the way they were born. Now, this group is the part where I'm removing Dana from the text. And what I'm in here, as you see, this group is coming from down here. This text is from this number of texts, or this chapter. So the thing here is I liked this text more than the text that was here and got rid of it. So the thing here is now you know what happened here in the true story of how the sons for Israel were born. And I did change it through all the other texts as it comes up through there. I don't think I'm going to show that in here, but when you see them that's been corrected from another text here, that's what I done. This is another place when they're talking about herds, and it's more than just rams or goats. They are flocks. I had it as only one flock, and there are actually two when they're speaking here. So I made a note to myself in the next text when it's cleaned up without the chapter numbers to look and watch for that later. And when I start putting all the books together, there's probably going to be a few dozen words that I have to go through and search to try to get out the double meanings as much as possible. Here I move this or that was moved up from being down, so you have to search those to find it. And then I needed to make some changes so it reads correctly. This was one of the moved here, Israel 1, where it's because these were the verses that needed to be, when you read them, they were so far out of order, but this was the last time our Creator talked to Jacob here at this time when he was with his father-in-law, Laban. So all these have to be put together. That's why I put them here together and then corrected some of the text that needed it. It reads better. And this text kind of goes with the text above that he had changed his name. So I had to put it here to let him know. And then I introduced his name as always being Israel in the text below as he meets his brother Esau. Now, let's see here. We're almost through the end. Yes, this is where I moved this group for. He said his name was no longer Jacob, it will be Israel. It just was stuck in the middle of all this text. So, but the word livestock means more than just flocks. It means donkeys as well. Okay. They could add oxen and other areas later, but I need to keep track of the word livestock too that way. This was the text I just talked about that I moved up because all of a sudden it's talking about your descendants will multiply, and it's just kind of like it doesn't read that way. It shouldn't be that. You can tell that reads out of order. And here's the text that I moved about Benjamin when he was born, and then corrected the order. And I left this here for now to see if it reads, because when I started to clear these out, I needed to have notes to myself. So I believe that text stayed exactly where it was at. These are already listed, and they are a different order than the order that is above. So just to let you know that, the discrepancy in the text. And here I still have to check his age. And here I mentioned in the video that I believe in another text we have 12 names for him, for his sons. So I know they are in our Creator's hidden formats. They came out. And this, you can see I'm going to move that group down. And I put the word deer here in his hide coat when it was a multicolored. Well, I tried to tell you in that video that the clothes that they were wearing were made out of rams and goat hides. They are white. So to be special, it would have been a deer hide, would have been brown. So why is he wearing something that's out of order? Today we have people that are Amish, and they try to keep the ways of like 400 years ago, a life that they lived 400 years ago. That's not without all automation. They're now just starting to use a lot that, like when I started growing up, there would have been no way they would have had a television. Okay. Now they might have television. Now they might have an internet and a cell phone and stuff like that. But before then, all their work was done with tools from long ago, and just beautiful handwork on the tools, or on their finished woodwork. Really something. So I can just see the Amish were somebody all of a sudden wearing different clothes than the Amish wore at that time. So, but here's text here that I had to move here. I marked it as moved here, and I before I say move, and then I say move group, and then I just give this here. And this is going to be quite a group that's being moved, I believe. Nope. I don't know. Okay, I have group, not just group, so it's just this one group here that I moved. Move down, it reads it, to read it in order now. Like I said, I corrected a lot of them through here that needed correcting. Again, I just moved the verse around. It reads better. And I had to add the word jailer here. I think this was one of the last words that I forgot that the word captain was there. So I'm just noting that I didn't leave it as what I changed it from. So pretty sure it was captain, but I realized it was jailer. I still haven't cup taster, haven't changed that. And just move that verse down just to make sure that that's correctly ordered now. And here, yes, I changed all the words storehouses to storerooms. And then I think it was just a couple places that needed it, 3, maybe 4. And here I put the correct names in order here. Second here. Yeah, I'm having to add this text here because, like I said in one of the videos, that there's no timeline given of when these things happen. I'm guessing at this was in the second year when the food was, they said to open it up and sell it to the Egyptians because they just ran out of product or produce. All their people were able to store food on their own, and then they just ran out. They were waiting for the harvest next year. That's why the harvest was so important. And why is that in here? I tell you, I hate this. I got to figure out how not to get any of that in the text. Yeah, just putting the right brother in the right place. And yes, I did change the word to feed sack for when they fed their donkey. I should have had this one colored. And that would have, that's different because he gave to the donkey. So, and yes, I did change. I didn't like the word touched. I'm trying to get rid of it if I'm going to use a word to mean double meanings and something like this. This is really close to not, but yet still understanding that this is probably one places that I'll use this word, so it won't be like it's all over the place in the text. And then down here, this is the very end of the text, and you can see that I'm moving this text down here to the end for the story to read more correctly now, because then Joseph dies. Then the families moved up, so and then they became a multitude. Now comes what is very beautiful in the text here, and that is this one. Yeah, oops, I'm still checking and editing. Sorry. Now, when you look at the format and you start reading these are beautiful. Now, what I keep telling you that these are a psalm and they're a paragraph, but actually what you're going to notice is 2 of these really become a paragraph. So in our Creator's Everlasting Promise book, I literally have an extra space like here to show that these are grouped together. And then down here, you can see again, it's starting another subject. And then down here, it's starting another subject. And I can go down and down through here and show you those. And then what's even nice about some of this is that when you said, well, I removed the 7 days that are in there that he created, well, you're going to find there's going to be 7 steps here of creation. So it's just so these start showing up as how can they do this? I mean, how can I go through and find formats and then these to break up into 2 solid little paragraphs that are a larger paragraph and then go boom, 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 boom. And when you go through the text, you'll find probably, I would say over 70% have 2 groupings. And I think Daniel, the whole book is that way. So, but the object is that this text really cleans up, and you get a real good sense of understanding why I keep saying these are the first writer's formats. They were hidden, they're still there, and the thing here is it's very important to know that these are as close as I can get to finding their hidden formats in the text. Now, our Creator's hidden formats, there's rules, and those rules have to be followed, which makes them repeatable. That text will always be the master. This text is so nobody comes along and says, I'm going to do this, and this is more true than what I've given. So this is to block out the text or block them out, and I know how to keep the copyrights for the text, because actually it's good for, I think, even 50 years after I die. So those who I will it to, I will be explaining to them how to change a few things to make it not so somebody else can copy it and start selling to you. The text that I have edited, nobody should really be playing with the text. They're just causing trouble for themselves forever. And that means that I was sent here by our Creator to do this, okay? See, here you can see this is just so obvious that this is the 2 groups here, okay? But that's the end of the video here of right now. Like I said, I'll be adding the chapters into it, and I will be putting more text, editing more text as I go through and I see things that I have missed here, or I put an error in. I will take that error out and try to define it so before I'm dead, the text will be the best I can produce for everyone to have and everyone to understand. Our Creator really wants people to obey Him and to enter into heaven. Anyways, I'll see you in another video.